Newton students were home for their 9th school day as negotiations drag on between striking teachers and the city's school committee. This strike is now nearly twice as long as any other of its kind in recent state history. The executive director of the Massachusetts Association of School Committees, Glenn Koocher, joins me now to discuss. So we've seen a number of strikes, I think 7 strikes across Massachusetts.
Half a dozen.
Yeah, and in the last few years,
2 years.
really. Is this part of a larger trend? I mean, Newton is exceptional, right? This is a 9-day strike. Yeah. This is a new record, but...
I think more districts are feeling empowered to strike. I think the parent union, the MTA, is encouraging them to exercise that power. So as a result, we're seeing half a dozen in the last 2 years where we hadn't seen a strike since 2005 before that, 1995 before that.
And we've been covering Newton pretty much every day. We went out yesterday. We spoke to students and teachers and parents. And we also spoke to the Massachusetts Teachers Association president, Max Page. Mm-hmm. This is him talking about, just in the last few years, how COVID impacted teachers.
The educators during COVID felt like they worked heroically to transition to online learning and then back into schools, and have dealt with all the impact on their own families themselves, seeing the students and what they've suffered. I think it's made them less patient with accepting inequities in the schools, as well as less patient with things that have gone on for years and years and have been unaddressed. And that includes fighting for mental health supports like they are in Newton. It means fighting for living wages for paraprofessionals, or what we call education support professionals, or fair pay in general.
So what do you think of that? I mean, COVID has an impact. I'm sure
COVID was hard for everybody.
Yeah.
And the unions did well positioning themselves, getting their talking points and strategies in place to deal with COVID. But I don't think that and teaching is a very stressful profession. It's hard for everybody. You've got to be on all day long. You don't get to take time out for long periods of time, as people in the private sector might get to do. But I don't think that COVID itself was the stimulus for the greater measure of emotion and action that's gone into negotiating that's led to the strikes. During COVID, people adapted, they adjusted. They did a lot of remote education, which didn't work very well, but it was the best strategy that we had. And the unions were extraordinarily astute in mobilizing themselves. For example, their theme was, not until it's safe will we go back to school. In other words, the sub-message, we'll decide when it's safe because we're using COVID to show you how powerful we can be. A brilliant strategy. And the MTA has had brilliant strategies around how it's done what it's done. I commend them for that. I did damage control myself for a very long time in crisis communication, and I give them a lot of credit for mobilizing around COVID to strengthen their position as advocates for teachers, advocates for kids. They would have claimed, I'd say, that everyone was an advocate for children at that time.
Yeah, I mean, I think at the time they might argue that not until it's safe would be until the CDC determines that these conditions are safe. And a lot of what was coming up was, you know, the HVAC systems in schools, right, were not up to date. So the air circulation wasn't good. And so the teachers were saying, why should I be risking my life as a frontline worker and going, into these environments for this amount of pay, for, say $29,000 a year as a paraprofessional in Newton?
I was first elected to the Cambridge School Committee 50 years ago. Back then, it was HVAC that people complained about. The architects will tell you everybody wants a big monument, everybody wants a great structure, and by the time they're getting ready for the infrastructure, the HVAC, the money's all gone and it doesn't work. And I think the unions have very skillfully used the ventilation problem to argue that maybe conditions need to be better. However, and I would stand by this, wherever they've complained about ventilation, it was only the teachers who were getting sick. And the best teachers didn't get sick. I'm going to tell you, it was a tactic. And it worked very well, but I don't think it was as truthfully articulated as it should have been.
When you say the best teachers weren't getting sick, what do you mean?
I mean, in my experience from my school committee days, the teachers who got sick were not the best teachers. They were the teachers who didn't like teaching. They were the people that weren't particularly effective. They were the people who might have been getting hard times from their principals about should you still be in the profession. And the kids didn't get sick.
We're talking about getting COVID, though. I mean, a lot of
No,
teachers.
COVID is different. I'm talking about HVAC and the HVAC.
Right, but in reference to COVID, I think that was a big part of it, as well as the ventilation's poor, and then the kids are in this cramped space, and people are masking and they refuse.
The talking point was, we'll decide when it's safe to go back, only when it's safe. And that was a tactic to demonstrate that we want to be in charge, we should be in charge. To some extent, we are in charge. We'll decide when we go back.
But I think the teachers are saying they want to be in charge, right? If they're a part of a union, so they're represented.
The employees have a right to argue that they should have a meaningful say in what happens to them on the job. They absolutely should.
And let's talk about Newton just real quick, because I know we'll be back tonight. Hopefully we don't have another school day off tomorrow. Hopefully they can come to the table. What's the latest on Newton? As you know, I know there was a final agreement, offer from the school.
It's an offer made today, and they're negotiating. And I have to say that the mediator has proclaimed that both parties have been negotiating in good faith. So good faith does not mean capitulation. Good faith means you come to the table, you talk about everything, you bargain reasonably. The old contract stays in effect until the new contract is negotiated.
We don't have a contract since
No, the
August.
old contract remains in effect until the new contract is negotiated. What you don't have are new pay raises. The old salary scale stays in effect. The step raises, the lane raises for academic achievement, they stay in effect. But the rest of the contract remains as it is, and you have to negotiate over new benefits or expanded benefits as might occur. So that's what needs to be settled.
Right, so because the offer that they gave was address the Unit C, so the paraprofessionals who were getting paid less than $30,000 a year, raising them by, I think, 4.8% COLA, and then everybody else, all the other aspects of bringing in mental health professionals, that stuff would be, you're saying later on.
That stuff may still be on the table, I don't know. But with regard to the paraprofessionals, many of the paraprofessionals in other districts have been given pay raises and the opportunity to work additional hours. And I don't know of a single teacher who doesn't value their paraprofessional that works with them or who doesn't want one to work with them. So that's a win-win situation for everybody. The school district gets more time from the people that are working for them, and the paras may end up with significant raises hourly and in terms of hours worked.
Glenn Koocher, thank you so much for joining us.